Alright guys, today we're going to be going through a few chess 2 games I've been playing. Just making our moves, and I'll be explaining as much as I can throughout. I'm going to turn down the ambient music a bit more, down to about 10%. Okay. So just to introduce myself, I am Warelephant, currently ranked lowish, 261 on this game. However, I've had a couple good recent wins coming in, and I feel like I've gotten the hang of a lot of stuff when it comes to playing the 6 races. Recently had a good game against Pace, a high-rated player. Has a good game against M Noble as well. Both wins with Empowered, which is something I struggled to use at first, but now I feel pretty comfortable. The 2 ones I'm having the most fun with right now are Empowered and Animals, actually. So, right, let's go to my games. Here's one against Crid. And I play on random, so we should get a good assortment of different gameplays and matchups when looking at the different games I'm playing, because, well, 36 possible matchups. Alright, so let's see. In this game we have right now material equality, and I would say there's just one imbalance, and that is that white has these double pawns here and black does not. Okay, and actually the other imbalance is that I have another betting stone. I suppose you could even call a third imbalance the fact that my light squared bishop has not yet left its starting square, it's undeveloped. Okay, so right now I'm looking to keep my pieces very flexible. Okay, right now my ghost rooks are kind of tied down guarding these squares. So anytime I move this one, he gets much more use out of this knight. He can drop it here, force my king back, and then drop it in even to f5, where he could perhaps trade it off and undouble his pawns and further push his king's safety bubble, which I don't like. So yeah, this ghost rook is tied down. This ghost rook is pretty tied down as well because of this knight coming to d5. That would be another unpleasant situation because it could target this c7 pawn. And obviously my queen cannot recapture because he also has his ghost queen as well right now. Or actually it's called the Reaper Queen. Alright, so I'm looking to find a move that would loosen up my ghost rooks a bit, because his are still pretty, fairly loose. Especially this one on f6, now that I chose to develop the knight to h6. So that could be an advantage going into the next stages of the game for him if I can't loosen up one of mine. So I think one way of doing that would be knight f7 to g5. After which I could trade knights and get another liberty for my king up here. And then anytime I could force his king away, moving my ghost rook would actually threaten an invasion. So that's one possibility. Another one would be to try and develop this light square bishop as fast as possible. One way of doing that is to force this ghost rook away to another square, which I don't really see a way of doing right now. Another way would be to just develop it along this diagonal, which I do not yet see any merit to doing. So yeah, all I'm seeing right now is the knight f7 to g5 plan. This also helps me move my kingside pawns. I haven't played too many like late game Reaper versus Reapers where it's kind of this gridlock situation, but I imagine space would be an important thing to have. For example, if I could move these two pawns up after trading knights, kind of hold this side off with the rook, with the ghost rook and pawns, and then maybe try and get an invasion going on this side. And I could see that being very useful. So I think b7 to b5 for now would be good. Get a little more space. And then he has to choose which diagonal he wants to put this bishop on, right? So if he goes back this way, then he's saying I want to have the threat on this pawn later. And this rook becomes a little looser. I can move it more easily. On the other hand, he might get it going on this diagonal, which might hurt me if he could later plan it on g4. On the other hand, a4 right now would give him the opportunity to stop me from ever playing b5. He could still play b4 after b5, or a4 after b5 though, and give me more pawn islands. So I think for now I'm just going to try and move the knight to f7. I don't know exactly how I want to approach this side of the board yet. So after trading these off and getting some space over here with maybe h5, then I think I'll move to that side of the board. That seems like a good plan. And a game against Pace. Another very strong player. And this game has been going very interestingly. I'm playing Animals against Nemesis. Right now, I am up a pawn, and I have one betting stone to 0, which is a really, really good position to be in for betting stones. Additionally, his queen is kind of locked down on this square, because as you can see, anytime he moves it, I can take this pawn and move back. Well, not so much anymore that he played d3, because this bishop could still come in. That's true. Okay, but right now, it's all about keeping like the continuity of space around my king, so his nemesis queen can't really invade, and protecting all the squares in that he could possibly go to. So right now it would take him, 3 moves to get in. That's kind of the way I want to keep it. If I do queen here, threatens a pawn. What would his response to that be? So if I had queen to c3 and then queen to b1, that would pin this bishop to the rook. Pretty much indefinitely until he found an answer to that. So that's somewhat attractive, but it also brings my queen out of play. Not that my queen can interact with his queen anyway, besides just blocking. So either way, this queen move gives me a tempo, because he has to move the king to defend here, or the bishop back. And either way, I get another free turn, because even if the king here threatens my queen, I can give check back here. And he has to move back and also defend the bishop. So this move improves my position, and it also does it with tempo, so that has to be the best of what I'm seeing right now. And I don't want to commit to any pawn moves before I know exactly what else I'm doing here, and how he's going to respond to this. So, because one of the biggest rules of chess is pawns are one of the strongest tools you can have, but they cannot move backwards like every other piece. So whenever you move a pawn, you have to make sure that's the move you want. Okay. This is animals versus empowered. Wow, okay. So I've won 2 white games with empowered recently. They seem a lot worse when you're black. But let's see. Against animals, I don't want to commit to any pawn moves that would leave me too vulnerable to his special bishops. And by that I mean I want to cover the squares he'd be retreating to after capturing one of the pawns. So if I played a move like e5, getting this bishop ready to develop. After b6, bishop, or b3, bishop b2, bishop c3, how would I counter that? Another way would just be to develop this knight and attack this pawn. And then after the pawn pushes, I could play knight g4 because the queen can't capture it. It's an animal queen. And after d4 to defend the pawn, what would be my follow-up there? Oh, okay. I think bishop here would actually be better because it develops the piece and attacks this pawn. So you can choose how to defend that. d3 would be fine. Knight here would also be fine. f3 would probably also even be fine. But I like this move the best because it doesn't commit any pawns too far forward, and it also gives me the potential for knight f6, where I have 2 strong pieces attacking 2 diagonals here. Right, that seems best. Okay. So here I'm playing animals against classic. And let's see, I attacked his c pawn and he is bidding to defend. So even if I bid 2, I keep my bishop, we stay even on stones because I capture this white one, and he just lost a pawn off the board. So even bidding 2, I wouldn't lose in the bidding stones war. But the real question is, can I do better, and is it worth the risk? And to answer that question, I think you need to look at what happens in the endgame for classic versus animals. And I think animals is more favored in a closed game because the rooks don't move as far, and the bishops can capture like pawns that are locked in deadlock, like what I'm doing right now, and the knights can also capture your pawns in a deadlock and break through. And of course the queens move like knights. So yeah, animals are favored in a closed game. In an open game, if I'm a pawn up, does that make me win? I don't know. So if I bid 0, he loses the pawn. So I'm up at least 2 betting stones. So take that pawn. I'm up to 4, he's at 2. Sorry, I'm up at least 3 betting stones because he would have to bid at least 1. But there's no other captures on the board right now that would leave that as an advantage for me, really. So being ahead 3 to 4 bidding stones, is that worth being down a piece, basically? With also the potential to counter a bluff on his part. I don't think he would go down to 0 stones just to try and win this battle. So I think bidding 1 is safe enough that he probably bid 0 or 1. He probably just bluffed. But if he just safely bid 1, then I don't want to lose just by playing 0. So if I bid 1, then I'm up by 1 stone, assuming he bluffed. And then I'm covering his options to do 0 and 1. So being up a pawn and 1 stone, it's like an 80% chance. That's what I would probably evaluate at, because it's probably less than 20% or less that he has just 2 stones here and just goes all in. Yeah, so I think 1 is safe. He did 2. Oh wow. Okay. So he captured that. I'm up 3 stones to 0. So all the future captures will be in my favor until he can come back in stones. Okay, but I'm surprised he made that move, and it would have been better for me to bluff at that point. And played 0. Okay, well this should be a really interesting game then, because this is a huge imbalance. 3 stones to 0, but also being down a piece, so we'll see. In this game. Okay. So here I have little to no weakness against a classic player. Sirius, he also has a very high rank. And I was able to capture this pawn with the bishop and also double these 2. So his pawn structure is kind of wrecked. I'm up a pawn, I'm also up a betting stone, so, or because I was taking a pawn, so. Excuse me. This game is going really well. The question now is how to proceed. I could play it very slowly simply by playing bishop f6, then I need to take this pawn away. And that would give him half open file for this rook. How would I feel about a queen trade here? I think my queen's pretty good in this position. And his queen is also very strong right now. Also, being a pawn up makes you much closer to being able to do a midline invasion, especially when his pawns are double like that. So I think one win condition would just be to trade queens and Trade for his light squared bishop, and then he has no control over the light squares, so I can just midline invade. So that's one plan. If I develop my queen to this square, I'm also threatening a pawn, so unless he wants to defend, which is a reasonable move, then he will give me a tempo by trading. I think he would just defend it and move his rook here, after maybe getting away to do that. I think he's also planning bishop here to possibly trade off with this, though I don't know. I mean, I guess I would be happy with that. Give me more control of those squares. What is his plan right now? The D, this square isn't very enticing for him because this bishop covers it. So I do queen out and he just moves queen f3. What's my follow? I don't really know. I'm having trouble developing some of these pieces over here. This light square bishop isn't particularly useful because of its short range and there's nothing really on the light squares to attack right now. So I could play bishop f6 and just grab pawns for days. Then I could run king f8, king g7, keep this bishop on f6 until I want to use it further. And that would also weaken his control of the square, so I could eventually play e5 too. Is f5 a threat? That's a good question. That would weaken me. I'm not Nemesis, so I can't just fix my pawn structure for free. So I think something like bishop e6 would be pretty prudent. Just stop all advance from him and slowly just pick things off. And I'm not moving this e-pawn for a while anyway. e6 would weaken my dark squares here. And I can't play e5 for a long time, so seems fine. Though it also traps in my queen pretty badly. But my queen can't do anything from e6 right now anyway. And I don't want to trade queens yet. So yeah, that's fine. This locks down the game and keeps it a closed game, which is important in the matchup. Just keep it closed and then you can pick off the classic pawns until they either give up or you have you're enough ahead that you can just start trading down into an endgame where you win or get an invasion. How noble he chose to develop this knight, attacking the d4 pawn. Okay, and once again, my plan with most classes against Nemesis is to get a kind of bubble around the king so that you have space and he can't destroy your development just by moving the queen in. So c3 sticks with that plan and defends the pawn. The only downside is it restricts the movement of this knight. I go to 2 squares then instead of 3. However, this is kind of the c3 is part of the pawn structure I'm looking to form right now, so that seems more important. And it also stops knight b4. So let's do that. Okay, yeah, this is a game where during the opening moves, I selected a knight from g8 and clicked on e7 because I wanted to move the e-pawn, but then it just captured it. Or is it? Oh no, this isn't the game, because the other game was a class. Oh, okay, I did almost the same thing in this game. In this game I made some move, either tried to click on a different piece and clicked a different square when having a piece selected or something like that. And I lost a pawn for nothing, which is really bad against Nemesis, because now he can just grind me down. But I'm a little bit stabilized right now, so I think the move I wanted to play next was a6. There's really no rush to do it, but I know I have to do it anyway, and I don't really have a plan right now. I'm not sure if trading would help, really. Not sure what would really help, because he's got his queen in, and it's restricting all my movement already. But maybe I should gain a little bit more space on this side first before defending this square. Just because I don't want his king to invade. Just something like g5. It seems okay. Maybe even g6. No, not g6. g6 could play h4, h5. And then he'd have way more space than me. I think we want to play g5 and then h6. And then h4 is fine. Yeah. So I'll gain a little bit of space over here. Yeah. Should be fine. Okay. Here's a game I'm basically just cleaning up. I'm almost able to checkmate with Reaper. That's how far ahead I am. Okay. For this fight, I'm just gonna bid to take his elephant out and then invade the king. That's fine. And if he moves up one, which he probably will. Let's see. I can simply just move rook here to defend the square. And then when he takes a knight, I can simply move the bishop away, have all these 3 squares covered, and this square as well. And then walk the king over here. So this is fine. And Scorpion 016. Another Reaper versus Reaper, though I feel like I'm doing much worse in this one. What just happened? I think I was able to trade off a piece and gain this square. So now I can start running my king out, and in order to stop me, he's going to have to start moving his ghost strokes. But before I do that, is there any better move? I think I'm doing badly if this king gets to here, and this ghost stroke isn't doing much. I move to here. If he moves to here, runs in this way. So maybe I should run ghost stroke here, on the turn afterward. Oh, but if I run ghost stroke here and he develops the bishop to here, I can no longer run my king out. And I can do ghost stroke here. Yeah. And run out anyway. Anytime though, he could just sacrifice his queen for this pawn, and oh no, mine is still covering this square. Okay, so I have 2 defenders of this square. That's good. And if this pawn gets captured, I can recapture. And I have enough stones to force through things. What if I just move king out anyway? And this knight check and knight oh no, that wouldn't work for him. That would not work for him because I can recapture with Reaper Queen. Good. Okay. And his queen cannot come to my first rank. King here first. If he plays king here, I can just play king up again. Alternatively, I could just play rook here first. And after king here, what? Pawn up, he would sack with this knight with his Reaper Queen and come in, so that doesn't work. Here. Oh, so I can't play rook here first. King here, bishop out. So he gets to develop his bishop no matter what I do. Question is, how much do I care about him getting his king to this square? I don't think it's worth delaying my king development just to stop him from getting here though. So after I have my king here, anytime he moves here, I just move my king up 1 as well. And this bishop cannot come into play yet. So that's fine. Oh, I also have the bishop check here. Okay, I didn't notice that. So if he sacked for it immediately and I took back, and he played king here, then I have no defense for this invasion. No, I do. I have a ghost stroke. And his queen would already be gone, he couldn't come here. Okay, wow. So this seems pretty damn good. So that forces his king to this side of the board, and then I just ghost stroke, block the king, and also block this bishop. So yeah, this is definitely the best move. And then my king can come out, try and run up out here. Okay. Oh no, this is the game. This is the game where I tried to select this pawn, but I had already had this knight selected and it just captured it. Okay. So now I just need to stop this Reaper King rush. I don't know if that'll be easier or harder without that pawn. We'll find out. It won't be harder. It won't be easier in the long run, but maybe in the short run. Well, I'm gonna start off with this. It's adequately defended and well, it stops two of his major evasion points. The closest one to his king, one's to his king anyway. Yeah, but I envision this being kind of hard with animals because my bishops don't range as far. Okay. Game versus Martyr. And this is the game I think I'm doing the worst in. Very hard to find a move for this game. One thing I was thinking of doing is just capturing on c2, bluffing it, so he burns stones with his queen. Checking here. If he captures the queen, fine. And I can outbid him. And if he doesn't capture with the queen, I can start taking other pawns. And come back and get even farther ahead in the capturing. So bidding, I mean. So that he can't quite run his queen around so easily anymore. And I think it's important to be ahead in stones if you want to be able to fight against this class. Yeah, and I'm classic. So there's really no way to defend develop my queen or bishops. So yeah, I was thinking of crazy plans like taking on c2. Because if he just moves his king, then, you know, he's not getting anywhere. Because I can check back here, and he's got to move back. He doesn't have time in between to sack for this knight and then try to run over here. Or run to this square where he'd have 2 ways to invade. He doesn't have time for that. So I think now is the time to do this before he has a chance, honestly. Go ahead and quickly check my chat to see if we have any questions, comments, concerns, viewers even. Cool, we've got a viewer. Alright. So, in this position, I think I will do that knight capture c2 move. And that'll not only get me a pawn, and I don't think he can fight this particular battle because he has to bid a stone just to play, and then I can bluff. So he's going to be down more stones than he's willing to do that for. All he can really do is recapture with Reaper. Okay. And I bid 1 to fight. We're both at 3. And if I bluff it, he bids 2. It's pretty good for me. If I bluff and he also bluffs, or calls the bluff rather, then that's really bad. At this point I need to do something, right? Something needs to happen. And this is just the same move as me developing any other piece to any other square, because this queen can capture pretty much anything I do. Except this also gets me a pawn, so yeah, I got in a pretty bad position, especially with this bishop on f4, ranging against the squares that I can develop too. So there's that, and he can choose what to do on that. Okay, so I think the development in this game was him moving this pawn up. He wants to get on this diagonal here, which I can respect. I have a nice little pin on this knight. He cannot move that, or else he'll lose the rook. Now if I capture this, it doesn't quite work, because he can capture here with the knight and then capture the rook after I capture it. So I think now another great option would be just working on development. Getting our pieces ready to play the game. Another option would be to destroy development. Maybe queen c3. Stops his knight from developing efficiently, stops him from moving the d pawn. His bishop can still range to a3. Is that a problem? Well, not really. Maybe it is. Actually, no, he can't play bishop a3 because I can play queen c1 then. So really, queen c3 would tie down a lot of things. However, loosen up on the e pawn. You could move that then, develop this bishop. I think overall it's worth it. Queen to c3. It basically negates his last move and also negates a lot of possible development even. So I think that's a bit of a mistake by him to leave that so open. Actually, I think his move is a3 to c4. So yeah, now my queen is getting much deeper into this position. It's getting tougher to develop. Something I have to pay attention to what I'm doing as well. Okay. For some reason my chat isn't loading. Let me refresh this. Let's see what happened. Okay, he moved king to d2. Pretty much as expected. So now I can move queen back to b1, check again, and get a nice pin on that bishop, regardless of what he does, really. Okay, but what about follow-up on that? Pin is nice, but it doesn't actually give me an advantage unless I can make something else happen because of it. The nice thing is my queen will never really get trapped back there. So I'll always cover this square here with my queen, so he can't guard it with the king. He can't move the bishop. he can move this bishop back to b3, but I always can run back to this square. This is a pretty safe move. When I say trapped, I don't really mean captured, I just mean like temporarily unable to come back to the game. So I wouldn't want a situation where I'm tying down his rook and bishop, but I can't move my queen either. I would want what I'm getting is a situation where I'm tying down his bishop, not tying his rook down really. He can still escape with it, but it'll take time. Where I'm tying down his bishop, basically tying down his king, and I can still move my queen. So it's basically rendering him one piece down temporarily. And I think the home for his bishop is going to be on b3 once I play b5 or d5. And I got to think about where I want to use this rook. Use it over here, or try to swing it all the way around. Remember, that'll take a couple moves because it can only move 3. And go for his king. So, but I'm going to make this move first. Give a check and see what the response is. Okay. Try this again. Sorry if there are any questions before I entered the chat, but well, I'm here now. So you can either copy paste them in or let me know if there's any comments. I'd be happy to explain anything else I'm doing. As of right now, I made all my moves. So I can show some of the cool results I've had recently. I have a lot of concurrent games right now. What happened here? Oh. This game was a long time ago. But yeah, I think 2 kings is really good against Reaper. Really, really good. That's the same. This is a game against Pace, and managed to bring home the victory with Empowered against Animals, so I was pretty happy about that. Very happy, actually. Against such a good player, too. Threat here is king invade or king invade, either way. His pieces can't move far enough to stop the invasions, so at least not both of them at the same time. And my 2 pieces here are comfortably covering all his invasion squares. Knight covers here, covers this pawn, covers this. Bishop covers this square here because it can move as a knight. So that's really quite strong. I lost the game to Pace. 2 kings versus 2 kings. This is the first time I had played the matchup, and it was really, really interesting to see what he did. I did make a huge mistake in that I gave a check with a knight, and he was able to move over 1, whirlwind it, and later move back. The compensation I got for that was kind of nice. I trapped his king on this particular square. While I couldn't deliver checkmate, I felt that I could leave it there trapped and move over with 2 kings and start whirlwinding things. But he was able to get in like a check and then a king move. So where if I respond here with respond with the check first, then I can't stop his invasion in time. So he was able to beat me tactically there. And we were really even on betting stones as well. So it's a very interesting game. And I feel like if I played the end of the game a little bit differently, I don't know who would have won. And let's see, I lost a game here by midline invasion. This is a good game. Yeah, I think I'm just not the best Reaper player because I've lost a few times to Reaper. I'm in a fairly bad game against the Reaper now. And I feel like that's the class I haven't really quite been able to understand fully yet. Nice game I had here against M Noble. Yeah. To use animals, I let him take some material back here in exchange for. Well, I was already ahead in the game. I was controlling the whole board with Knight Bishop. Knight Bishop together is so powerful with Empowered. It really is. And I had really good center control, and I lost a few pieces back here, but that gave me time to get the king up here. So it was kind of planned. And nothing he could really do with such a, control of the board deficit. Okay. I'll show some of my other games that are in progress right now. One of the players I'm really hoping I can beat is. Where is he? Befeldsta. Yes, this is him. Oh wait. Oh yeah, I forgot in this game I already have a mating combination here. So probably be easier if I take a look from his side. Playing as animals, he was playing as Nemesis. He actually was able to get a nice invasion going in here. Luckily I got a counterattack going. And he just moved his bishop to d7, capturing my knight. And I did not even contest that because yeah, I just wanted to save the stones for my move. Because I had this, my queen was on d2, by the way. So I had the queen move to g2, check, and next turn I can capture an e3. It's going to be a mate in 1. There's nothing you can do. So his moves to f1 or d1, which are 2 options, both result in checkmate once I move the queen there. And you can verify that for yourself. But it's really interesting to see some of the new patterns that come out of animals, like a knight with a queen in front of it is a really good coverage of all the squares here, because the queen will cover 1, 2, 3, 4 like this, and these two, because it also moves as a rook, and the knight will cover these two. So since he doesn't have a way to run past the rook or the knight, it's just a really fancy and really cool mating net. Okay, I'll check the chat one more time. Alright, so here I'm going to end the stream because I'm out of games to play. I'll also post this on my YouTube channel. And you can probably find that on my Twitch profile. And I will say peace. Thanks guys for watching.